Welcome, everyone, to It Tastes Different Gaming Game Review Time. Tonight, we're going to review Chorus. Chorus is a space combat game developed by Fish Labs and published by Deep Silver. Basically, it came out on December 3rd on pretty much everything except the Switch. Basically, Windows, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and as well as Xbox One, Stadia, and Luna, if anybody out there is using Luna or Stadia. Which, if you are, I'm sorry. So this is basically a space combat simulator game. It's in like a third person's perspective of your ship. You're a pilot, a Forsaken pilot. Your aircraft, I should say, is a Forsaken ship, sentient Forsaken ship, and you are a pilot, Nara, who is, and we can't go into too much without giving it away, so I won't go into all that. But basically, you have a sentient ship, and your name is Nara. And you left a bad life, trying to make a better life for yourself, but everything keeps coming back up. Same boring story as usual. So let's just kind of go around robin and see what everybody's initial reviews are on this one. And let's start with, we have the good, the bad, and the ugly. And let's start with the ugly with Shane. Shane, what are your initial reviews on this one?
By the way, nice, but ugly joke. Jackass.
I figured you were going to be the one who didn't like this one, so the ugly is going to come out.
I actually enjoy it. I don't love it, but I enjoy it. It's storyline is kind of generic. The voice acting is really good in it, though. I really enjoy the voice acting, which I'm pretty retentive about. So voice acting is just fine. The storyline is fairly generic. It's not terrible by any means. It's just, been there, done that kind of a storyline. The combat is you're a pilot and you're in your ship. You're always in your ship. You never leave your ship. You take a ship in your ship. So it's a lot of ship. The game is, it's not grittiest, but it's pretty good. The combat is very linear, though. I mean, yes, you can go up, down, left, right, blah, 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 but it's the same thing. They come at you, you kill it. You can come at you, you kill it. I don't know. It's like not a bad game, but it's not a great game either. I mean, I enjoy it to play, but it's one of those you play for 20 minutes to an hour, then you sit down and come back to later, because it's just good enough to, play it that way. Graphics are nice. Nothing spectacular, but they're not bad. We've seen a lot of bad graphics with these new hardware, so it's not bad. But it's really just another game. It's good enough to play, good enough to enjoy, but it's nothing that makes you go, oh man, I can't wait to get home and play this, which kind of sucked because the trailers and everything made me go, oh man, this looks like something I could really get into. But it doesn't grab you at all. It's just good enough. Nick, what about you, bud?
First off, I forgot Luna even exists. So I forgot that was even a thing. Secondly, yeah, I do like this game. I think it's pretty good. I agree. Now, I didn't complete the game to completion. I've gotten pretty far. The story is kind of mediocre in my eyes. I mean, I don't know if there's some big reveals that happen, but so far it's been your pretty much generic, good versus evil type of thing. The characters are pretty good. Nora's a pretty good character. She has really good voice acting, I think. And so does the Forsaken, which is your ship. It talks. It's an AI. We said that. And I think that Forsaken one actually I think I know that voice from other games too. So, but yeah, I mean they talk back and forth and banter and various things like that. And it's and Nora, the way she talks to other people, and she also talks to herself, or inner dialogue, which is kind of nice. Sort of. It's kind of weird, but it's kind of nice at the same time to kind of get her internal thoughts about things, right? So, as far as story right now, it's not really all that, crazy or anything like that. But as far as gameplay goes, I do like the combat. I think I enjoy the combat. They do try to mix things up with you get these rights, which are secret superpowers. You got to obtain them kind of Metroidvania style, except for they seem so far to be in line with, the main rights are in line with the storyline, but you can upgrade your rights, and those are side missions that you have to come across to grab right upgrades. And you have to collect, I think, 3 to get an upgrade. So, but the rights add a lot. Like as you get more rights, they become pretty cool, and the stuff you can do with them. Like at first, you might like, I'm not really using this much. Maybe like the sonar one, which you start out with, but then you start getting other ones. You're like, oh, and you use it all the time, right? And then you're like running out of right juice. You know, you have a little bar at the bottom that shows how much power you have left. You're like, I'm running out of this crap. Yeah, I mean, they introduce new ships and new ways to take, or certain ways that you have to take out certain ships and various things like that. And ships power up other ships or shield other ships and various things of that nature. So as you play the game, you have to adapt to the new ships and enemies that come into play. There's a ton of side quests, and they don't pop, not every one of them pops up on the map. So you have to kind of just venture out there and hope you come across one. And sometimes you get some pretty good loot out of it, and sometimes it's not really worth it. I think I find, I'm not going to go over the thing that maybe Patrick probably doesn't really care for. Maybe or maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. I think it's cool, but in certain situations, it kind of sucks playing with it. But I'll let him talk about that. If he doesn't bring it up, I will. But overall, I think this game is pretty fun. It's only $40, so I think it's definitely worth a pickup. I played it for more than an hour. I could sit there and play it. I think yesterday I played it pretty much all day. I think it's fun. I think it's a fun game, and I enjoyed it. I think it's pretty good. What about you, Patrick? What do you got to say?
Yep, I agree with you. I enjoyed this game immensely. I spent all day yesterday playing it. I mean, it's fun. It's got some weird little hiccups, but it's a new game, to expect it. I will say the story, in my opinion, is the weakest part. It drones on at times, but I'm just like, skip. Come on, I'm tired of listening to this. And the inner dialogue thing is kind of weird because it just reminds me of the inner dialogue. Saga. Yeah, so as I say, it reminds me of that, but not as like it's not as in your head as that one is. You're supposed to be hearing yourself, and it's basically everybody's thinking it, but she's just gonna hear it in her head, and you're thinking of, that guy's gonna die. In her head, she's like, he's gonna die or whatever, It's like, so in my opinion, the story is the weakest part. It's got quite a bit to it. I mean, there's so many things to do in this game. There's so many side quests. There's so many just explore and find crap and do this stuff. And really, it's pretty much been bug free. I ran into a couple of bugs, and they have more to do with mission tracking than anything else. As Nick was saying, not all the missions pop up, but I've had a couple of missions repeat themselves. Like it didn't track that I completed it. And I'm like, why is there a question mark over there? And I go back over there and the mission starts again. I'm like, I already escorted you yahoos. Get through the gate already. We already escorted you. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll do it again. So it's, I enjoyed it, and the rights are pretty cool. There are some annoying rights, as Nick will probably mention, but there are some really cool rights. Like I use the hunt right all the time. Like that thing is like the best one out there outside of like the storm one, in my opinion. But that one is pretty cool where you just, without giving stuff away, it allows you to just close some distance pretty quick, and you're just like just shredding people with it. But yeah, there's all kinds of different combat. They throw everything from little bitty non-shielded starfighters up to like giant capital ships that you fly inside and outside of, so lots of cool stuff. And like I said, the story, in my opinion, is the weakest part of this game. It looks beautiful, plays good, has the typical stuff you would think of a space combat game. It ticks all those boxes. And as Shane had mentioned, you don't leave the ship. You are Nora, but in all sense, you are the ship. You're putting your upgrades on the ship. You have upgrades that have, in the ship, you have upgrades that have basically like set bonuses. Like you can throw on pieces that add, once you get 2 out of 2 or 4 out of 4 of the pieces, they add additional bonuses to what the abilities of the items on your ship are, and it's really good. And I enjoyed it. It's not quite on the level if you played Rebel Galaxy, in my opinion, but it's really good. And I would definitely full price game for me at $40.
I have to say, I am completely flabbergasted that you enjoyed it. I really am, because that one day you texted about the controls, and I thought, oh man, Pat is going to lose his mud on this. And now you're coming up with, man, I really enjoyed it. I was like,
it was just that one part. It was the one where you get your first right outside of the one that Nick says, and it has you do. I'm guessing I'm gonna spoil it. It has you drifting, and I'm like, drifting in space, you can kiss my ass.
Now, drifting in open space is awesome.
It's good, but drifting inside of a corridor is annoying as shit.
Yeah,
in my opinion,
it's really hard to get down. The drifting is.
Yeah.
And I spent a lot of time when I got it, and you probably did too, trying to get it right so where you can open up the gate. Trying to drift when they're trying to teach you how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh man, this is really, I don't know. But once you get outside and you start using it when you're fighting other ships and stuff, I'm like, this is awesome. I love this because you can just turn on a dime and you're coming in behind. It's so cool. I think for a long time, it's one of the best like space. I mean, it makes you feel like you're like a kind of a badass starfighter, right? I mean, you got all these abilities and you can maneuver so quickly and everything like that. And it's pretty cool. And it's been a long time since we've had something like this come out. We don't get a lot of sci-fi space shooters that are good, or at all, really. We haven't gotten one in a long time. So
I think the rights make it. The rights make it quite a bit different because you think, okay, it's a space combat game. It's, we've been there. They're a dime a dozen. The controls are tight. Plays pretty cool. But then they start throwing the rights in and you're like, oh, this is a game changer. And then they start throwing bigger baddies at you. And you're like, oh, now I know why I need this even more.
I wish the last flight space game we got was Rogue Squadron, and I wish they would take some cues from this because the controls are better overall, really, for this. I think. I mean, Rogue Squadron was fine. It was fun, mainly just for what we played together, but. This one definitely had a lot more perks to it to play. But then again, still for me, it's still kind of a run of the mill game. The right stuff was definitely the coolest aspect of the combat, but I don't think it added to me. It didn't feel like it added that much more. The hunt, like you were talking about, that's probably the best thing you could get, at least that I got, because I've only got about 6 hours in. If that. So somewhere in there. And I don't know. The game wasn't, it was fun, but it's just not a game that I feel like I can play more than an hour of. It's just me. But it doesn't mean it's a bad game by any means. It's just me. I do wish it had some sort of online component. Co-op would have been really cool for that. I mean, I really think, 4-player, 3-player, even 2-player co-op would have been really fun. And that always ups a game's value.
Yeah, the rights, but yeah, I mean, it was pretty good. It's not that long of a game. I mean, there's not that many sectors to go to, but
I think it was like a 10-hour game or 12, somewhere in there.
It's longer than that, I think. I guess it depends if you're.
I guess if you do the side quests and not, if you just follow the main storyline, it's probably not that long of a game.
It is difficult too. I will say that you get into some hairy battles, and I've died quite a bit in this game, and I'm like, really? I've died enough times sometimes that I'm like, should I dumb it down? I've not gone to dumb it down, but I was just like, I'm getting railroaded here. Should I dumb it down and I'll step away and I'll come back and then I'll just destroy it. But there's plenty of times where I go in there and I'm like, you're not going to guns ablaze in this thing. You can try it if you want, but you're just going to get picked off. Your shields are not that strong to take on like 4 fighters at the same time without like basically doing vulture style attacks. Just come in, take one out, fly away, come back. Those are really hard missions when you're trying to protect other ships and they're getting the crap beat out of them while you're dive bombing them, taking them out a couple at a time. But once you start getting those rights, oh my God, it's just like bam, bam, bam. How quick can you fire off rights? As Nick said, you're like, I've already used all my power ticks and they're not charging up fast enough. So then you go back and get you some equipment that gives you quicker return on your power abilities and stuff like that. So it's got a lot of different kind of makeups. I mean, you can turn your ship into any type of ship you want, a fast hitter, a missile boat, whatever you want. There's different ways to set your ship up. So that's what I kind of like. If you've ever played Rebel Galaxy, you'll be able to, there's a little bit of that in there. You just don't get to upgrade your ship like you would in that type of game where you're like, I want a capital ship. I'm tired of running around in this fighter. That'd be kind of cool if you can get a capital ship. Can you imagine doing the hunt with a capital ship? A little bitty flying, and then boom, here I am behind you.
Right. And they do give you the opportunities sometimes in certain missions to fly other ships.
Right.
Yeah. One of the very first missions you get, you find that they send you over to get that one that they've been building up, and then you're taking it back to the base area there. And, you just got all the cannons along the top, and it's just, popping everything away. That was like really cool. And I like those moments. That was one thing I will give that game credit for, is it does give you some of those cool moments. It does take you out of the ship into another ship, but your ship is in that ship. So you're still in a ship.
You're shipping.
You are the ship.
Your ship. Yeah. You are the ship. Exactly.
There are a couple of
Voltron.
I did run into a couple of bugs myself. One is I was doing, and this happened to me in two different missions, where one in particular where it has a ship that I have to basically defend, and it's trying to build up. They're trying to do something which has a percentage up there going. It got about halfway, and if the ship gets attacked, the percentage will stop, right? And you have to defeat the fighters. Well, for some reason, I would defeat the fighters, and the fighters would just keep respawning, and the ship percentage never went up. The ship was almost destroyed, and then it started ticking up again. And then the ship destroyed, and I lost, and I had to do it again. And I was like, "What the hell? Why wasn't it moving?" And when I did it again, it went up, and it was perfectly fine. So I don't know. The other thing that I've had, which I think is an annoyance with the game, which I hope they possibly patch out and fix. This is not a bug. It's just, for me, it's really annoying. If you finish a side mission or something, and you start to leave the area to go to a different mission, because you're like, cool, I know this is the end of it. They're just talking, and I'm going to go out here. If you go outside the reticle or the range of that mission, it'll say you're leaving the objective. And I'm like, all they're doing is talking. I'm done with it. This mission's over. But you have to basically sit in that circle. And it's a pretty wide circle, granted, but you have to sit in that circle until they're done dialoguing between each other in order to leave the area to go to the next side mission that you want to head to. So that, I wish they would let you just, once the mission's over with and it is, let you just fly off to the next area that you're going to.
Yeah, I would say I mostly ran into mission-based bugs like you did. Like I said, I ran into early on where you got to escort out into the second sector you go into, you have to escort the ships through the jump gate. And I escorted them to the jump gate. And it was like, okay, cool, complete. Here's your reward. And I flew off, and I'm doing other stuff in the zone. And I come back, and I'm like, where is that? There's still a question mark over there. So I flew over there, and the same mission started up again. It's like, we need you to escort us to the jump gate. And I'm like, but then when I complete, I didn't get extra equipment or anything. It actually gave me a completion. I'm like, oh, okay. It didn't give me the completion. And then the main storyline is so hard to track where it ends. Like, what I mean by that is, like, you're like, okay, I'm in the main story. We just did this big, huge thing, and I think it's over. I'm going to go do some side quests. I can't do any side quests because it's still in the main mission's active. And I'm like, how do I know when I can do side quests? It never gives you that clean break. And so you have to, like, you're running a mission. Like, okay, I'm going to run this one. I'm going to go check on the side quest. Nope, still can't do it. Run this mission. Go back to side quest. Still can't do it. And that happens to me a lot. And there's a lot of wasted time in the game because I can't tell when I can start interjecting side missions. Because I'm one of those guys who, ooh, shiny over there. What's that over there? What's that over there? And I'm unlocking all these side quests. And you're like, you can't do this one yet because you still have the main mission, So that drives me a little bit nuts. But I've had a few side missions restart on me, or I thought they completed and I didn't. They didn't complete, and I go back and it's like, start it over. What's weird? So that's about all. But I've not had the game crash on me. I've had some weird audio artifacting, but it was just like quick and over with. It wasn't like long lasting or anything.
Yeah, the only technical issue I had was, and it's, I don't believe it's the game at all. I believe it was just a quick resume issue. The audio, for some reason, would not play during cutscenes. It would play during the mission, but wouldn't do it during the cutscenes. And I was like, really weird. Like, why did it choose to not do the cutscenes out of all of them? So, but I just killed the quick resume, started back up, and it worked fine. So if you have any audio issues, definitely just kill it, fire it back up. You should be good to go. So, but yeah, the gameplay and everything ran great, played great. It didn't, technical wise, there were no issues that I found.
Yeah, for sure. I had the same issues as you, Shane, with quick resume, and we played this game on the Xbox Series X. When I quick resume and went to a cutscene, there was no audio whatsoever. Once I killed the quick resume and reloaded, the next cutscene and every cutscene beyond then has been fine. So this game just doesn't like the quick resume feature when it comes to that. Everything else seems to be fine except for when cutscenes, it just cuts the audio out. And I had the same issue with you, Patrick, as far as like when do main missions end, because you can't save your game either. So you're like, okay, I'm going to get off. And then you hit the button. And it's like, you can't save during the mission. I'm like, how long is this mission? I've done like 5 segments of it. How long is this thing? And yeah, you don't really know. Sometimes they do give you an indication, but most of the time they don't. So it's like very few missions where they'll be like, okay, yeah, you need to go do these things, but take your time. And you're like, okay, cool. That means I can go do other stuff. But then sometimes they don't say that, and you're like, can I go do other things, or do I need to follow this? So those are just minor quips, I think, that they need to kind of iron out. But otherwise, I think the game plays very well. The controls are very tight, and yeah, it's a fun game.
Right. Yep. And I'd pay $40 for it. I think it's a good buy at that price because I put in plenty of time to get my $40 out of it, worth time. But I'm a completionist. I don't know if you bum rush the story. You may have been done already by now, but so.
Yeah, I'd give it 40. I would think 40 probably just about my peak though. But $40, yeah.
Well, we know you're cheap, so that is your peak.
I am a tight ass.
It just doesn't squeak anymore.
In the age of $70 games, it's nice to get a $40
that doesn't suck
really good
completely.
game.
And it feels complete, right?
Yeah,
it
feels complete.
Yeah. Cool. Well, anybody else got any topics they want to talk about on this one before we put it to bed?
No, I believe we nailed all the notes.
Yeah, if you like space, go pick it up.
Right. You like space and cool abilities, and it's a little bit different. I'll say the abilities make it play a little bit different because you're not just, it's not just a shooter. It's not just anything like that. It adds some cool abilities, supernatural abilities, if you will. So cool. Well, we hope everybody enjoyed this episode, and leave us some comments down. Do you like space shooters? I know Nick and I are huge sci-fi fans, and Shane is to some extent, but probably not enough for these. So let us know if you like games like this, and pick it up and let us know what you think. And make sure to like and subscribe so that you can keep up to date with new videos we post every week. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we hope to catch you next time.
See ya.